All right, everybody, I'm back with another quick take video. This time we're in the world of oligopoly. Um, so first I just want to kind of go over oligopoly and make sure we understand what we're talking about. So oligopoly is the market and has very few firms, usually four or five. An example of an oligopoly type firm would be something like the gas station industry, like so Shell, um, 76, Chevron, Mobil, those kinds of things. Another example would be like sodas, so Coke and Pepsi, that kind of thing. Cereal. So these are the kinds of ideas that you should keep in your head when you're thinking about what is an oligopoly. Um, the thing about oligopoly is um, they function in a way where uh, they could either have like the level of a monopoly, so they could really have a high price, or they could function like a perfectly competitive firm where they would compete against each other. The idea is a successful oligopoly tries to behave more and more like a monopoly. That's why when you go buy gas stations, everything looks like about the same price. You know, nothing's different. There's not like the 76 station is cheaper than the Shell station. They all have about the same price. And the same with what we see in grocery stores when we're looking at Coke or Pepsi or cereal. They all have around the same price. And in fact, if you focus on your cereals, they all have almost the same kind of cereal. Like so, Post and Kellogg and etc. They have a raisin brand. They have like some kind of fruit cereal. They have some kind of flake cereal. So everything's very similar. The thing about it is in that world we can see things where there's collusion. Um, Now collusion's not allowed in the United States, but there can be just kind of unspoken collusion where it just like we say like the gas station situation where they're on the corner but they all have the same price. Um, and then out of that can form like a cartel. So, for instance, a cartel is a group of firms acting together in collusion. Again, that's not legal in the United States, but it's perfectly okay in other parts of the world. So, a big example of an oligopoly or some kind of thing that colludes and or forms a cartel would be OPEC. We always think of cartels as being something like sinister and gangster, but you could just have a cartel like OPEC where they're limiting their oil production in order to increase the value of the oil. Um, in our setup, we will be looking mostly at duopolies. So not the oligopoly setup, but we'll be looking at duopolies. So we'll be comparing two products. It stays with the theme of what we do in AP Micro. And so duopolies, there's just two producers in the marketplace. So that's how we're going to look at things for the most part. When we look at the world of oligopoly, it has a range of possible outcomes. And because of that, we don't usually see it in graph form. We'll be using like Punnett squares. But if we were to do it on a graph, you would see it would look like this, and it has a range. And the range would be anywhere from perfectly competitive type firm, so down here, to monopoly up here. So you would have any kind of a range of outcomes in that area. So again, we don't use this very often in the AP setup. But if we were to see this on an exam, for instance, you would have a range of outcomes, and the range would be anywhere between monopoly and perfectly competitive firm.